r/ask Reddit. What do you remember hating the most being a child? Being talked down to, or people laughing at me when I was telling them something serious. That phrase, "we're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you," but I wasn't ducking laughing at all. False accusations, but when you try to defend yourself you get told to shut up, or even worse, you get punished further. I still get unreasonably mad when I'm falsely accused of anything because of the built-up trauma of having to endure so much of that in my youth. My mother would be furious because I dared to get angry for being falsely accused, just because she couldn't handle not being right. In the resulting shouting match she'd often call me a cancerous, ungrateful piece of shit. If I got lucky she'd also throw hard objects at me or slap the daylight out of me. Living in a house with just one bathroom and so many people, seemed like someone was always using the toilet or the shower when others needed use of the room. That's why you just go use whatever is available at the same time. I did this. I was the only girl in my siblings. We seemed to have a trust in each other not to peek when one of us was showering. To this day, all but my dad still leaves the door unlocked when we shower, just so anyone who needs to wash their hands or use a mirror can. For me, always just made sure my eyes was open and ready to spray anyone who decided to open the curtains of the bathtub or glass door to the shower box. I think all the kids did this. I remember when my brothers as a kid when my mom woke us all up to go pee in the middle of the night. Two of my brothers just peed at the same time in the toilet. Saves a flush anyways, and they were both boys. I'm surprised you weren't the one that locked the door considering you're the only girl. Not getting explanations for things I asked about. My parents and extended family were good-hearted people, but none of them were very intellectually minded or patient. So when I had questions about how things in the world were supposed to work or operate, the answers were frequently unsatisfying, ranging somewhere between "because it just does" to "I don't know," and "I don't know" was sadly never followed up with "but let's find out." This right here. I was so inquisitive and having no access to answers infuriated me. I remember getting really pissed at my mom once. After asking a series of questions and getting only "I don't know" in response, I finally sighed and said, "Wow, you don't know anything." Needless to say, that was an ass whooping I did not soon forget, and it taught me to stop asking questions. Then a few years later we got Google. That my feelings didn't matter. If I was feeling anything other than happy, I had to get over it. If I was crying, I was ordered to stop or get something worth crying over. I hate as an adult now, seeing other adults ask a kid what is wrong. Kid opens up and then the kid gets made fun of for it being a stupid reason. Then poor kid gets drilled about how they don't know what a hard life is, they're dramatic, etc. I hate that shit. Oh, you have an important test? Just wait until you're an adult and you're faced with real problems. Not doing well on a test can lead to real consequences. Being held back. Being punished at home. Being 4 feet 3 inches with the voice of a tuba. This made my day. The cruelty of other kids. +1 for that, mate. Sorry you experienced it as well. It got better for me. Hopefully for you too. Family gatherings. Had a large extended family as an Indian and there were gatherings and functions almost every week. Coming of age, housewarming, marriage, first birthdays called for gatherings between 100 2000 people. You had to dress up and meet people that apparently cleaned your snot as a baby expecting you to remember that they did so. It was horrid. Kinda miss it now though. Yeah, I miss gatherings too, and it's sad to me to realize that's a time I can never return to. There was something about seeing our house bustling with older people you don't know, all chatting, eating and laughing in small groups throughout. You might not know them and are nervous when they first arrive, but they are family friends so you eventually trust them. Their young kids would be playing with toys and spinning each other with an office chair. Then the older kids would be playing upstairs on the TV because one of them brought a PS1. I never knew it as a kid, but I enjoyed the company of strangers to me. Worst part of it was they started to filter out. The house slowly becomes more quiet and you try looking for a stranger or older kid that was kind to you, but they have already left. My dad stopped doing those gatherings when I was around 12 and I always asked my mom why, but she never gave me a full answer, though I suspect why as an adult now. I still have those vivid memories when I was a kid. People making fun of me. grown up included. What I remember most was some adults not treating me like a human being just because I was a child. I try so hard with my own kids to step back and treat them as fellow humans and not just children. A 4-year-old needs their own space and gets frustrated and gets angry in exactly the same way I do. They just don't have the vocabulary and awareness to express it. My job is to help them express it, validate it and teach them how to deal with it, not just to tell them to stop whining. I was on my pediatrics rotation in medical school and saw a little kiddo having a meltdown in the waiting room. The mom was getting flustered and frustrated. Then one of the PEDS residents was walking through the waiting room. He got down on one knee and instead of scolding the child like the mother was, he asked the little kiddo what was wrong. The child said he forgot his favorite toy at home and was afraid something would happen to it, instead of telling the kid that his toy was safe and that he needs to stop crying. The resident asked his mom if anyone was home. The dad was. The resident asked the mom if she could text the dad and ask if the toy was safe. Less than 5 minutes went by when the dad sent a picture with the toy and all was well. The little boy was all sunshine and rainbows after that. All it took was just empathizing with a child and putting yourself in the mindset of a 4-year-old. To us it seems so trivial that he left his toy at home. But to him that toy is his whole world. He has spent thousands of hours with it and probably has a special bond. I can't imagine how it would feel to just have that dismissed by the parent when they tell you to just calm down and be quiet. Being made to eat foods that I couldn't stomach or which were in amounts that were too much for me to handle. You can't leave the table until you finish everything on your plate. I hated wasting food, but I developed clever ways of sneaking unwanted food away and disposing of it without a trace. Thankfully my parents didn't pull the "there are starving people in Africa" routine, because my answer would have been "so give it to them." I second this. I remember vomiting after being made to eat coleslaw by my father, and I still can't stomach it. Also, whenever I would visit my grandmother she insisted I drink a glass of milk with every meal, and she made me sit at the table until I drank it all. I couldn't stand it, and to this day I hate milk, although some milk products are okay. My dad was a drunk with opinions. He would keep me and my brother up till late and scream lectures at us about history or ethics or how much he hated our mom. He would wake me up in the middle of the night and talk at me for hours. If we got an answer on Jeopardy wrong that we should have known. Lecture. Such angry, drunken lectures. He would throw things at us, hit us on the head to wake us up. I hated it so much. He died of liver failure when I was 17 and 22 years later I can say him dying was the best thing to happen to me. Nowhere near as traumatic, but my stepfather was heavily verbally and physically abused by all his family members save one, and never got counseling or therapy for any of it obviously. There were way too many times I, as a child under the age of 14, got into a screaming match with my stepfather that I didn't want to be in and had no idea why he was yelling and could only be heard by yelling as loud as he was while trying to ask what I had done wrong. It cooled off a little during my teens because I stuck up for myself a hell of a lot more and learned how not to engage or show emotion so things couldn't escalate. Anyways, it wasn't until after he had to be put into a medically induced coma for at least 3 weeks and had to be resuscitated a couple times, coming out as a completely different person, that we could actually foster a relationship. Before that, I initiated zero contact a year before until he went into rehab and got therapy. That hospitalization was the worst thing to ever happen to him, but the best thing to happen to us. Being so sad that I wanted to kill myself, but being too young to know how suicide works. Instead I cried under a tree and begged God to make me dead. We had a neighbor and her sister over. The younger sibling was hitting me with a belt, which sounds bad but it was very soft. Didn't hurt at all and just made a funny noise. Of course it made me mad so I grabbed the belt and slapped her with it. Had a massive welt on her back. The mother showed me the next day and I felt so bad I was gonna commit suicide by shoving a pencil through my chest. Prob wouldn't have worked anyway. A child's remorse is greater than most adults. Children can't understand what their emotions are or what they mean. Teens specifically grow up and be more independent. Gets a job and saves to eventually move out one day. You need to come home sooner. I don't care if you have a job, I'm still your mother/father. The lack of freedom. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things that I wanted to. I relate to this. But my lack of freedom wasn't because my parents had a lot of strict rules or anything. It was just that we lived in the middle of butt nowhere and my mom hated driving, so I felt guilty asking her to take me places. Adults not taking me seriously when I'd say I was full needed a we didn't feel well. We don't tell adults they have to eat if they're full or to just hold it if they needed a loo. Ducking, yes. Seriously. Why force basic needs? Yes. I peed less than an hour ago, but I need to go again. Shit happens. I drank a full bottle of water. No, I can't finish my plate. I'm full. Well, yeah, I'm going to sleep all afternoon and not sleep tonight. You overfed me. Your problem. My mother stigmatizing me for loving pink, playing the flute, wanting to be a nurse, etc. Going by your username. I assume you are living your best life wearing pink nurse uniforms and playing flute in your spare time. If so, that's lovely. My scrubs are pink, and I play the flute to help put my daughter to sleep. As a young child, my mother forcing me into social situations despite my extreme shyness. She always hated the fact I was shy. As a teen, my grades were never good enough. Even if I had an A, it could always be a higher A. If my grades dropped to a low B, I would be drug tested and she would tell me she was surprised when I came back clean. The beatings when dad was drunk. The beatings when dad was sober. Child abuse is horrible and traumatizing. I hope you guys are better now. Going to bed when other kids are still playing outside. Oh my god, this sucks so much. I would have to eat dinner and go to bed while my friends were still playing video games. At 11 years my bedtime was 7:30. The fact that no one ever liked me unless it was convenient for them. I was nothing but a burden for everyone around me. I was constantly abused emotionally at home and abused emotionally and physically at school. No one cared about me. I don't know if hate is really the right word, but when I was really little, I was terrified of my dad. My earliest memories of him are being woken up in the middle of the night when he got home, smacked around a bit, and sent off to bed again without so much as an explanation. You know what you did, he would say, but of course I didn't. Because why would I ask if I already knew? I put a ton of work into trying to keep him happy and not pissing him off, but it didn't always work. I say hate might be the wrong word because I didn't really know better back then. I didn't start hating him until I met kids and parents that had better relationships, which wasn't until high school. Until then, that was just how it was and I didn't really question it. Haircuts. The barber my parents would take me to was a total scumbag. Would always without fail insult me throughout the process, and when they were done he would try and get the other workers involved to make fun of me as well. To this day I hate getting haircuts because of this. Having to spend weekends either babysitting my twin brother as early as 6 or doing hard work around the house cabin and not having fun like most kids do. My family has a cabin that I've never fished, swam or boated much, if any, at. I've never played in a play area at a fast food place because I had to sit at the table and make sure no one tampered with or threw away our food while my brother played. Basically, I spent most of my childhood being the responsible adult and missed out on a lot of kid stuff. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.